Hello, Georgia friends, and welcome back to the Soup of the Day podcast. And in this episode, I have a very dear friend, no stranger to Georgia, Melody Carrillo, the lead pastor at Radiant Life Church in Savannah. Melody also serves on our presbytery as a representative for women in ministry. Mel, I've known you quite a long time. We go back a ways and have been friends for quite a long time too. And just watching God do incredible things in your ministry. So you've been the lead pastor there for 2.5 years, but you've been at the church for 30 years in Savannah.
Yes.
And you have had a long tenure there.
Mm-hmm. I believe in longevity.
Come on, I do too. Yes.
I know we
do. Let's beat that drum. Yeah. Stay where God's got you. So thank you for coming and talking with us today. And our subject today really is leaning into how can we as a district help promote and empower our female leaders into positions of leadership in the church. And so you and I have kind of talked a little bit about some of the topics that we wanted to cover.
Yes.
And one of those that I have today and I want to kick off with is how can local churches who have a heart for empowering female leaders, how can we take steps, practical steps, tangible steps to address possible barriers? And for those of you who are watching and don't know, there are barriers
Yes.
To females in leadership.
Sure.
And how can we as the church kind of really jump in and say, okay, you know what? We want to take a strong look at that because we want to make sure that those who are in our churches and they feel a call to ministry have a pathway forward. Yeah. So how can we do better on that?
Well, first, I think we need to preach what we believe from the pulpit. I think some that's going to help is that if, we believe in the assemblies of God, rightly dividing the word of truth, and some of the barriers that we face are, it's a strategic plot of the enemy. He's taken one tiny portion of passage and he's twisted it. And of course, we know that Jesus says the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Yes. So if we eliminate our women who are called to ministry, then we've even got less workers.
Don't we, though? Yes.
So we need our pastors, our lead pastors. We need our brothers to preach from the pulpit what we believe. And that the same person who gets misquoted, Paul, also when he is quoting who are his followers, a third of those are women. He's sending women to deliver letters that he's written. And of course, we know that the deliverer of the letter was preaching the letter. So very practical. I think we need to preach what we believe so that people know.
Absolutely.
Our theology.
And the Assemblies of God was an early adopter from our very founding. So we had that mindset. And so ordaining women from the very beginning of the movement has been a part of our history.
Yes, and it wasn't something that we just shifted because of culture. It wasn't something that we changed because somebody was shouting. It was something that we believed from the very, very beginning. And it's critical. I mean, we're one day closer today than we were yesterday to Jesus' return.
Yes.
And if the enemy can eliminate a portion of the workers, then we have less people. I mean, it just makes common sense. So we've got to identify that. I think the second thing is that as pastors, period, we've got to be willing to look and call out giftings in men and women.
Come on, yeah.
And then we've got to be willing to disciple them. So, we talk a lot in the assemblies about secession now because we can see that was a weakness. And so part of that's going to happen as we pull in men and women into our office and we disciple them and we say, I see greatness in you. I see the call of God on your life. So I think those are practical things. And then also we're offering the district and through the network of women ministers locally, we're offering small 6-week discipleship courses where a woman can hop on board and be encouraged in an authentic group of believers to fulfill their call and to get closer to the Lord.
Yeah. And as a dad of daughters, and for those of you who don't know, I have 3 daughters and I haven't won an argument since 2005 because they form a block. I don't know how that works. But for someone who is a dad of daughters and seeing their giftings.
Yes.
So I have one who's currently in full-time vocational ministry who is leading, but identifying those giftings and not just arbitrarily saying, maybe subconsciously, maybe there's something that's like, oh, you know what? They do have the call of God upon their life.
Yes.
And encouraging it and pulling it out of them. Sometimes it takes seeing a young person, male, female, it doesn't matter, and you as a pastor saying,
yes. And didn't somebody do that for us?
absolutely.
Somebody did that for us.
And saying,
that's why
I
we're
see
here.
something in you that God is stirring.
Yes.
And there are no barriers to
None.
you being able to walk in that. So we need to preach it.
Yes.
We need to preach what we say we believe.
That's right.
Which that's actually true in a lot of
Isn't
ways.
that important?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is, isn't it? The AG, you know, our old shield, it said all the gospel. All
Yes.
the gospel.
Hello.
Full gospel, all of it. And so
Yes.
preaching what we really believe and standing by it,
Yep.
identifying those.
Yes.
And then what was the third one?
Well, I think it's identifying and calling it out, but I think also we need to have women preach in our pulpit.
Yes.
And not just on Women's Ministry Day. That's normalized already.
Right.
So let me just go back a minute and say this. This doesn't go with the question, but I was thinking about this in these last few days. When I moved here, now we're going to talk about history in a minute. There were a lot of women in our history. But when I moved here in 1996, I was the only woman. And I had that said to me, which is okay. I'm a type A, goal-oriented personality, so it kind of lit a fire under me, and that was fine.
Yeah, by the way, if you don't know anything about Melody, just tell her she can't do it, and she'll get it done.
Yeah, we're going to try. So with all that I can, I'm going to try to do it. But at that time, I was known as the female youth pastor. Now we have lots of female youth pastors, and they're no longer known as the female youth pastor. They're
Wow.
known as the youth pastor.
Wow.
So right now we've got several female lead pastors. We're known as female lead pastors. But that's not going to be the case because
No.
we're going to normalize that. We're going to be pastors. So I think, so I would say preach it from the pulpit, normalize it, call things out, and then equip them, give them tools, disciple, and disciple them right along with young men. We don't want to be a distinction. We want to serve alongside. You know, we're co-laborers in
Certainly.
this together.
Certainly.
And so it's not about male and female. It's about men and women of God co-laboring together.
So, fun fact: as a district youth director, way back when, that was a long time ago, I remember putting female youth pastors in positions of camp leadership intentionally, deliberately.
I saw that. I knew you were doing that.
Yeah. Well, and we wanted to see it, but
Yeah.
also too, I wanted my daughters to see it.
Yes.
That there aren't artificial barriers, you know.
Yes.
And so and seeing that, and now it's the norm. It is
Yes.
what it is. And I'm glad you pointed that out about being known as the female youth pastor, and now you're just the youth pastor. So there is coming a day
Absolutely.
where you're not the female lead pastor.
No.
You're the lead pastor.
Yes.
And I am proud of that, and the job you're doing in Savannah, by the way, because I guess, guys, I know I'm sort of the crossroads of information, but you and Emily down in Brunswick and some of the others that we have across the district, and you're doing a very deliberate discipleship program for them as well. You mentioned the 6-week series, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've done, and all they would need to do is email me, and we could get on there. So we've done we've done some training. So like last year, you signed on
Yes.
and gave us a teaching on how to run a board meeting. I mean, I believe there's a famous gardener on YouTube that says, turn your waiting room into a classroom. And I think that's what we should all be doing, men and women. We should be training
Wow.
ourselves.
Okay.
So that's why I was having you show us, how to run a board meeting. Joe Phillips hopped on, one of our favorite people. I know you and I feel the same, teaching how to put together a message. And so then we did a 6-week course on the All of God by John Bevere. That was really awesome.
Wonderful.
And talking about it every week. And then we did another discipleship. So we're going to offer several of those during the year. And they can hop on and just see, maybe you grew up hearing this as a young woman. I did, that you can be what you can see. And so I saw Beth Grant on the platform, and I knew that I could minister the gospel. So we want to also encourage these women who are all across our state that anything God calls them, like you said, if God calls you to do something, you can do it. And so I would kind of go off and say this too. I'm not pastoring because I can do anything a man can do. I'm pastoring because God called me. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It has nothing to do with being able to do anything a man can do. God's not going to anoint me or honor the life that I'm living if that's my attitude.
Wow.
And the same thing is true that I'm not preaching because the Assemblies of God says that I can. The Assemblies of God says that I can because the Word of God says that I can. So I think we have to kind of go back a few steps and say, if God has called you, He's going to equip you. If God has called you, He's going to provide the way. And you're not going to have to defend or fuss or fight. You can walk in with the mantle of God. And
I love what you say. You don't preach for any other reason than because God has laid it on your heart to do it. And that burning desire to see people come to know Him. And regardless of who says you can and can't, you're going to do it. Yes. I love that, Mel. Thank you. We need to do better in that arena. But I do feel like we're making strides.
We are.
We really are. I've seen a lot of that. You mentioned me coming onto the podcast and doing the board meeting. I would encourage pastors, if you've got young leaders, male, female, whatever, have them sit in a meeting.
Yes.
I will tell you that as a young leader coming up and having those leaders put their arm around me and say, all right, these are the nuts and bolts, the practical side of it, was invaluable. I didn't learn that at Southeastern.
No.
I never learned how to run a board meeting.
No.
In those things. It was those putting their arm around me and saying, hey, you know what, you need to sit in here. This is Robert's Rules of Order.
Right. How are you going to create a budget?
Yeah, exactly.
How are you going to handle difficult situations? And I know I'm so grateful for what you're doing with the cohorts for lead pastors. So then I think that needs to filter through then to the people that we see in our congregation that we're wanting to equip. Hey, I see this in you. Let's talk about it.